Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the show. This is The Bader Show. I'm your host, Mark Bader, and welcome. This is episode 433. Excited about today's show. We got one of the biggest recruits in America on the show. He's a U20 world bronze medalist, U17 world champion, Bo Bassett. Bo, thanks for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. We worked through a couple technical issues. We're down on points, but we're coming back strong. Man, obviously one of the most interesting things about you is this brand you've been building online, and a lot of people have social media. They start it for different reasons, or a lot of times to put yourself out there and present it to other people and let them get a glimpse of your life and whatnot. It seems like what you've been doing, especially as of late, is very intentional in building your brand and telling a story of you through wrestling, or however you want to describe it. When did it, if ever, did it go from, kid who's starting social media as any other kid to like maybe trying to do something different in what you're doing right now?
Right. So I had social media when I was younger, but it never really turned into like a brand or what I wanted to do for a little bit of time. But I can remember I was in middle school, actually, is when I started it. So I've been doing it for a while now, and just wanting to get my name out there, wanting to get wrestling out there. And that's really what it's been about. I love doing that. It's kind of like my passion on the side. And honestly, I think it makes me closer to the sport, because I'm always doing the sport. What I post online is I want to help people out. I want to make people better. I want to inspire, make wrestling a better place. And I think the word intentional that you used is a good word. Like, I'm intentional about what we post and when we do it. And, honestly, I'm trying to do things that nobody's ever done. And, why can't you do that? And I've been doing it, through social media, and it's been fun.
Yeah. It seems like maybe it's a combined effort, right? Or, FloWrestling has a social media account. It's a bunch of us doing it, right? And maybe I assume you're doing all the posting, but maybe you have input from your family or friends or close people. How are those conversations? And you're like, was it your idea, or who maybe did you first go to? And you're like, hey, I want to be intentional. I want to do it differently. I want to kind of really build this brand.
I wanted to go all in on wrestling since the beginning. Like, I knew that this was going to be my path. And so from a young age, we try to do things that nobody's ever done. And, whether that's, challenging yourself in the sport, or whether that's having a social media that people can follow and really enjoy and makes the sport a better place. I have a lot of help, for sure. Just with people helping me out, people who have done it, people who are doing it better. And I always try to use my resources. I always talk it over with my family. My dad and I, we always try to come up with ideas to be able to market ourselves and do things like putting out a graphic of all the colleges when we were doing that the last couple months, or, whatever it is, posting videos on Technique Tuesdays or Circuit Sundays, or just posting general information, having mindset webinars. All that type of stuff is stuff that I do and stuff that I enjoy doing. And I think the best way to learn something is to teach it. I think I do a lot of like the teaching stuff, but it learns a lot deeper for me. I learned all of that stuff, and I've been learning how to get myself out there. I definitely use my resources, though.
Yeah, and it's good to have resources, and there's so many different ways social media can play out. Like you said, you're putting content out, you're building a brand. I'm sure you're working with different brands, right? What are any challenges or maybe even mistakes that you learned along the way? Because just like learning wrestling moves and going to practice, the way you're crafting your social media it's not just, it's complex and complicated, right? And there's lots of things to it. Like, what's one thing you've learned, a mistake maybe that you've made? You're like, oh, that wasn't right, bump in the road, but next time we go the other way, or we do it a little differently, or we don't do that again, whatever that might have been.
Right. Well, we just had one recently, but I'm still a kid, so you'll make mistakes. I'm not walking alone, though, right? I mean, my family's in it with me, and again, those resources really help me. So I have a good idea of what I need to do and what needs to be done, but there's always mistakes. And one recent one that I had was this past weekend. I was doing it like a mindset webinar, and so what it was over 200 people were signed up. It was going to be awesome. We did it on Google Meets. And I'm getting ready to log in here to do this 1 hour, presentation for these guys, and it's going to be great. And the number of people joined is at 100, like 10 minutes out, and then 5 minutes out, it's still at 100, and then 2 minutes out, it's still at 100. And I'm like, man, what's going on? Like 200 some people were supposed to be here. And it turned out that you could only have 100 people join that. And so I made sure that, I had to do some things to make it right. And so I did that hour presentation. And then for the people who were still up, I did it 15 minutes after that one ended again for a second time. And then last night, I made sure that I made it right. And for everybody that didn't join the first two, I did it for a third time, the exact same thing, a third hour last night. So that was a that was a little bit of a mistake, but we made sure we made it right. And anybody who couldn't join, obviously, we gave them their money back. But that's something that was not part of the plan. But we just pushed through it, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and that's cool. Like, perfect example. Make mistakes, but immediately you adjusted and did what you could to make it right. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Man, this recruiting deal, right? Like, whose idea was that, right? Hey, tomorrow my recruiting list is going to come out, and every people were excited, right? People were excited for all kinds of top wrestlers' recruiting lists, expecting to see your final 5 or 10, not expecting to see a graphic with 75 schools on it. But where did that idea come from, and how did that blossom?
Well, I know that that's never been done, and so I want to chase those things, and be remembered as a guy who does pretty crazy stuff. And that was something that we talked about for a lot of times. And then it actually got brought up on Flow Radio Live, which was wild. And I think that kind of solidified, like, hey, we're going to do this. We had the idea before that. It was kind of more my dad, my family thing that we talked about. Like, wow, how cool would that be? And then it got more hype than I ever imagined it would. Every single week it would come out on Wednesdays, and then eventually the last couple of weeks it was like Thursdays. But it's been a really awesome experience. Got my name out there a lot, and again, it holds me accountable, because if I'm putting this stuff out there and I'm always posting and trying to do things differently, like, I got to work my butt off, because you got to put the work in the and the results in behind it. So it's been a fun experience, and the recruiting part has that's been completely different. Nobody's ever done it like that, and I'm excited to keep moving forward with it, and we're starting to get really deep.
What was that recruiting process like? Well, I guess specifically, like, there's the typical schools everybody would guess you're going to put on the list. I don't have to name them. A lot of them, or maybe all of them, are still there. But I don't know, 50, 70, a lot of schools called you. I don't know how many. And were there any schools that surprised you? Whether it's the schools that are still in your list or not, and whether it's surprised in a good way or a bad way or indifferent, or you're just like, man, I heard from this coach and wow, I was super shocked and or impressed by this school who wasn't on my radar or whatnot. Just think of, like, the surprises that may have jumped out at you during this process.
I think the surprises for me was, I never really thought it was going to be an easy process, but I didn't realize how hard it would be. Because I have a lot of awesome relationships with coaching staffs here, and then a team here, and then, I've got family at this school, and it's just, it's been an exciting process, but there's been, like, a lot of things that I didn't see coming, and each school has their own way of recruiting, but it's a pretty awesome experience that I've worked for my whole life. So I'm trying to enjoy it. And I went on a lot of visits, I feel like you almost earn those. So it's been a good experience. And these coaches are really good at what they do on the mat. They're really good at what they do off the mat too. Like, they are good recruiters. I've got to say that. But we started with, like you said, around 70 plus schools. And I can say that all 70 plus of those schools I have respect for. And they were nothing but, top class, good people, and they did an amazing job, and I'm just really excited to see where it is God leads me, and where, I think I can become the best person and the best wrestler as well.
You said there was some things I didn't see coming. So I think of what I heard you say. Can you give, like, specific examples of some of those things, like, you just didn't see coming?
Yeah, well, I expected maybe a call or two the first, right at midnight on the first day.
Yeah.
But what I didn't see coming was, like, I believe right at midnight, there was 9 different phone numbers, like, ringing in at the same time. And that was, like, I didn't see that coming. And so at that point, I mean, it's just luck. And I was just clicking, just trying to answer whoever it was. And, it was cool. We kept our list, and Flo did an awesome episode on that. And You can follow, like, the first 24 hours, which will be a memory, for me forever. And it's just an awesome time, because, again, that's something you think about your whole life growing up. So that was one that really stood out to me, was these guys stayed up. And they made sure that was a priority. So that was really cool. And we were up to like 2:30 a.m. that first night. And then it started early the next day. But I enjoyed it all. And then you've got the schools that waited and kind of took a different approach to when things, they say, calm down, which is definitely different too. You don't really know what to expect. But I I have enjoyed that. Another thing I didn't see coming was these coaches, they're constantly in the room. They're coming up to Johnstown, PA, and we love it. But I think it's awesome. I've been getting in a lot of great training on the visits. I didn't realize that a visit would be, obviously get to see the school, but really beneficial with the training. And a lot of people have been up to train as well, coaches, wrestlers. So it's been really awesome as far as that goes. And I think really I've gotten a lot out of it. And, I always say that I felt like I was a part of every team growing up. And now you have to choose one, and that's a hard reality to face.
Yeah. What you took? Tell me I guess the 5. I think is still the rule. Official visits you've taken, and maybe other schools that you've unofficially visited.
Right. So they completely threw that rule out. So I've taken over 5 now.
Okay.
And I'll try to remember them in order of how I went. But I took my first ever unofficial. I was at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado. I went to Air Force on an unofficial, and then after that started the official weekends. And my first one was Michigan, I believe. So I was at Michigan, I was at Ohio State, I was at Penn State, I was at Iowa, I was at Virginia Tech, I was at Oklahoma State. I'll be going to Rutgers this weekend. I'm just really excited to keep seeing how things go. And I think the list is down to maybe 9, maybe 7. But in my mind, I feel like it's a little bit more narrow, and I have a good idea of where we're at. But right now, it's a big discussion with my family. My family is a big priority to me, and I've got 2 brothers who are in the next 2 classes. The next 2 years, we go 26, 27, 28 graduation years, and I don't see us splitting up. But I just know that it's a big decision for the family.
Are there any moments from recruiting visits that stick out? If I'm just like, hey, all those visits you just named, what moments, when you close your eyes and think back, this jumps off the page at me? I remember this and this.
Yeah, there's a lot that jumps out at me, and I could name one for each school, but it's been tough. Those schools that I took visits to are all amazing. They've got awesome staffs. I've got connections probably with every coaching staff, the wrestlers as well. I think some things that jump out is, just being able to see how the teams are as a family, how they live every single day, their daily lives, what they're doing every day. It's cool to see that and put yourself in those shoes. It's cool to see how you would live if you go there. And it was pretty cool to see the different ways that people live, and I think teams are really close, which is awesome because my team in my high school is really close, and that type of stuff has been fun. But I guess some stuff that jump out, we got to go to a duel at Virginia Tech. That was awesome. And then football games for most of the other ones. And those are always awesome. You get to see the college, cheering on their team. And it's really cool atmospheres. I went to duels at Oklahoma State. I went to the Penn State, Ohio State game. I got to do the wave at the Iowa Stadium, which was cool. I'm excited for this weekend. We'll get to see Rutgers versus Penn State. So there's been a lot of awesome times on the trips. And I've had some pretty cool hosts as well. Mendez was my host. Bartlett was my host. Jimmy Mullen from VT was my host. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's good getting to stay with the hosts, see what their life is like off the mat, outside of practice. But, a lot of that, like you said, is going to football games and the recruiting thing. What, did you bring your shoes? Did you get on the mat? Did you not have an opportunity to wrestle at some and or all of these during your visits?
Yeah. Well, I believe it's illegal, for the coaches to be in the room. I think that was the rule. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really doing obviously the team practice, but RTC. I would wrestle maybe the RTC guys or whatever it was. So I got to wrestle with Spencer Lee at Iowa, and I wrestled, Pantelio and Real Woods at Michigan, for instance. And, if you do stuff off site, I still don't think coaches can be there, but maybe you can wrestle the college wrestlers. I'm not sure how it was, but I did get my work in on all the visits, and that was a big priority for us. That my dad and I wanted to make sure we were getting good training, and because those weekends are long, and if you don't get good training, you're missing out on a weekend. So I made sure that we were able to do that. Yeah.
Making cuts, right, from 77 to 10 maybe isn't the hardest thing. From 10 to 5, a little bit more tricky. From 5 down, right, I'm sure it's going to be even tougher. Tell me how you, every week, it's like you wake up and you're like, this week we're going to cut this team, or did you kind of know ahead of time maybe how it was going to be, or maybe describe to me the process of making that list a little bit more narrow and making those cuts?
We've been talking it over as a family first before any decision's ever made. But like you said, the first couple, eliminations are a little bit easier because you realize that it just might not be reasonable to think that you would be at one of those schools. But again, nothing but respect to all those ones. Now you're at a point where the last 10, 20 cuts are like, that's extremely hard, and I think I just have to listen, one, to my faith and try to figure out, like, he's going to make it clear to me. And then it's talking with my family. We did a thing where we have a lot of the schools in this like Google Docs thing, not Google Docs, I guess Google Forms. And we like filled out this sheet, and we were like comparing statistics and numbers, and we're like really taking it seriously. And it's pretty cool, the numbers that we found. And I think we're going over them tonight as a family too. So it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see what that is. And yeah, we're using different strategies that some of the guys that I grew up wrestling with used before they committed. And that's also been an aspect of it too. Like, I have a lot of friends on a lot of different teams, and they're all reaching out, which is awesome, and it's cool that the wrestlers are able to help out. And yeah, it's not an easy decision.
Yeah, man. Oh, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Meet with, fans or customers, whatever call it. Like it's a different landscape than it was even 5 years ago, recruiting and getting into college, NIL and marketing yourself. Do you feel like you're learning a little bit of like about the business world, right? Cause like your brand, it's not a company, but it is kind of, there's business behind it, right?
Right. I think so. It's crazy you say that, because I actually would want to major in business. I think if I could wrestle forever and somehow stay in the sport of wrestling, obviously I'd want to do that. And something that my coaches told me and my dad says is, hey, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. And I think that's the ultimate goal. But yeah, business will be what I'm shooting for as my major, and I think that's the avenue I want to go. But I feel like I'm already getting a little bit of an experience with it. And it's fun. I enjoy it a lot. So, if I can do something that I enjoy, to me, that's not working.
Is there, is it a juggling act? Do you have to make sure one doesn't get in the way of the other? And I guess, wrestling being the priority, is there ever a question of, am I doing it right on the other side? Are we doing too much? Is it not? Is there such thing as too much? Make sure that this doesn't blend or interfere, I guess might be a better word. Is there any of that? Or is it like, man, no, it's great?
I think I'm always keeping myself accountable. I think honestly posting and trying to be a really big name on social media holds me to a higher standard. Like, hey, you got to work your butt off. You got to put the work in and really make sure you're doing the right thing, setting a great example. Because there's always eyes. There's always people watching. And you got to put the results behind it. And so every single day I'm reminding myself of that. And if I'm going to preach the right things, to do the right things, I got to do it myself. And I think that's a great thing for me. So it's motivating. It's fun. It's challenging, which is all the things that I want. That's what I want in my life. So it's been a fun ride. And, for me, I'm excited to just keep growing it, keep trying to put out the right image and inspire others, because I had a lot of amazing role models growing up. So for me, I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's too little. I think it's just right. And my dad does a good job helping me keep it just right and make sure that we're working our butts off, and being good people.
Yeah. And in this new age, right, like with name, image, likeness and everything, when you go to these different schools, are you guys ever having conversations about the brand you're building? And I don't believe college coaches can actually talk about NIL, so I'm not necessarily referencing that, but hey, come here and we can help you build your name, image, likeness, because I think that's a thing more of these athletic departments are doing.
Right. Yeah, they absolutely are. They know that it's a big deal for me, and I've already been able to grow it a decent bit.
Yeah.
And they think that they're trying to see where they can help me grow it more. And so that's been fun, and they all do a really good job with their social media. So I think anywhere it would explode even more. And I think that, it's definitely a topic of discussion.
Yeah. What's the timeline on recruiting? I don't know, it's been 5, 6, 8, I don't know how many months since you put that list out, but we're down to, I think it's 7 now, maybe 7 schools. Are you thinking over the next 7 weeks? Are you thinking over the next 7 months? How is there a cadence you have in your head? And is there a big reveal? And we have a final date for the final decision in mind, or curious to hear your plan.
Right. So the plan for me is I'm going to for sure wait till after NCAAs. Like that's a definite. But I think after that, it's whenever the time is right. I want to definitely be committed, I would say, by midsummer, just because, there's a lot of time there to train, be able to get better. And if I have a college I could spend a lot of time there next year, right? And get a lot
Yeah.
better. So for me, that's what I'm thinking about. And I guess that would be really the plan. I don't think I'm going to go into next year uncommitted, but I guess we'll see. It's not really a rush, but again, I feel like the end is near, and I can see like the light at the end of the tunnel. I think is where I'm at. So yeah, I've got a plan, but it's not going to be really quickly.
Sure. You said, and I think you said earlier, you said, I'm down to 7 or 9, but maybe in your head, it's a little bit more narrow. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say within like my house, it's a little bit more narrow for sure. But that's where it kind of stays. And those final 7, it's unbelievably hard. Like you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong at all. And nothing but respect for these schools. And I just appreciate I don't know. It's been an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. Look, it's just me and you here. You can tell me. I won't tell anybody. No, I'm kidding. Well, you in your house, and I appreciate that, and I think that's great. And here's a thought, right? Like, I don't think anybody goes in thinking about committing somewhere and transferring. But like, is it safe to say wherever you commit, that's where you think you're going to do your whole career? Because at this point, anybody can transfer at any time.
I would say, yeah, 100%. I'll be staying wherever I'm at. I think that you make that decision once, and then again, I've got 2 brothers who are going to be making the same decision. So I would say that whatever decision I make, I feel like I'm going to be 100% confident that it's the right one, and that's where I'll be for not just the next 4 or 5 years, but probably a long time after that, because I plan to wrestle for, a pretty long time. And I think that's an exciting thing. And yeah, team's going to get little guy for sure.
And I think you also said this earlier, like wherever you go, you feel confident that your brothers will follow suit?
I don't know.
Or would you like
I know that I would love that. I think it would be awesome for not only me and my brothers, but my family. My parents, they would love that. My grandparents, they travel and watch us now, but they would love to have us all in the same place. It would make it tough if I'm, on this side of the country and Keegan's on the other side or whatever it is, it would be, yeah, that would be tough. So I think it would be just nice to have us all on the same team. I would enjoy it, but no, I definitely can't guarantee it. They were on the visits with me this year, though. Try to make it a little easier on them.
All right, cool. I want to switch gears a little bit. Talk about some high school wrestling and McCort. Man, you guys, you've been, and there's been 2 or 3 guys on your team that everybody like. These guys are great, and it just maybe seemed like a few good kids, and all of a sudden it's like, no, there's this great team. I think you guys are ranked 2nd behind Faith Christian, right? And this duel could happen at the PAAA team states, right, where you go in a bracket format. I guess just like, what's your thought on this potential matchup? And it feels like both schools, you've had these groups that have been together for a while, like since middle school, right? It's not like just bringing in studs from across the country. And high school duels are exciting because you can, right, there's like, okay, you got 14 weights, we can slide them up and down, and there's a lot more strategy. Have you thought about a potential duel with Faith Christian? What are your thoughts on a potential duel with Faith Christian and what that can mean?
We're thinking about it since last year. Right? They got us in the state finals last year. So, yeah, we're thinking about it for sure. And we beat Wyoming Seminary, who beat them this year, which is exciting. That shows that we can put some belief behind this, especially for the young guys. They did an amazing job in that big match. When the pressure was on, I think the most pressure that they're going to feel this year would be in that duel and then the Faith duel, and they did a great job. So I'm excited for them. They're doing great. The rest of the team, the guys who have to take care of business, were able to do that. And that's huge, to go out and get bonus and not give it up. But, yeah, I mean, we're a pretty solid team, number 2 in the country right now. And I think we have 5 freshmen starting. Maybe that's the number, which is crazy. My brother's in the lineup at 106, and some of the smaller guys are still freshmen. And then I just think that these guys are fighting really hard. They're doing an amazing job. The guys in the middle, I mean, from 132 to 160, 172-ish, we've got top 5 guy in the country, I think, at every weight, which is a pretty insane stretch. And, it's been fun to see what these guys can do. We're wrestling in the biggest events of the year. We have a really insane schedule that I enjoy, and I know the team enjoys. But some of their records going into PIAA states are going to be like, what in the world? And then these guys are going to go out and win medals and win titles, and it's going to be awesome.
What is it, you've been a kind of a top individual for a while, but what does it mean now having, a team that's going to compete for number 1 in the country? And and to be surrounded by individuals and coaches like that?
That means everything to me. Having everybody else around me is awesome. You know, it only motivates me, makes me better, makes the team better. We feed off of each other. We work super hard. We do for sure. And we have fun doing it. And I think that if I ever was close to my team, this is the closest I've ever been as a family. The past years, we've been close. You can't get me wrong. We've always had a really good family team. I think the family aspect is really important. But this year it just feels different. And this year we're doing better than ever, you know, and winning Powerade and being able to, I believe, do really well and hopefully be number one here by the end of the year is going to be awesome. And I think that to just have it right there in front of us, like we win this match, we're number one in the country, is you can't ask for anything more.
Yeah. I would assume you're a leader and consider yourself a leader on the team. And I believe we've all seen, you know, you can lead through example, which you clearly do, and you work, your work ethic and motor is out of this world. You know, aside from showing them how, you know, doing the actual work, what kind of leader are you and how do you lead and motivate these guys?
Yeah, I try to come in every single day and bring the energy, joyful. I'm trying to smile. A lot of the team does a good job with that. I think for me, it's obviously trying to lead by example, but vocal as much as I can. I mean, it's not in a negative way at all. Like some vocal leaders are yelling at guys, but I think if I can just bring the energy up, good body language, right, that's contagious, I think. And so I'm always trying to do that. I'm really trying to help out these freshmen because they're doing an amazing job, but they're the guys that are going to push us through. Right, they got to come through for us in these big matches. My brother's doing a good job. I'm trying to lead these guys just because, you know, I'm a junior now, and I got 1 year left, and it would be awesome to go out the last 2 years number one in the country. I'm doing it for the seniors too. I mean, we got one starting senior. He's like number 5 in the country right now. He's, you know, committed to Rutgers, doing amazing things. But like, part of me is like, let's do it for him, you know, because it's a big deal to be number one in the country. And technically, the guy that's ranked number one in the country at the end of the year is the national champs for the team. Mm-hmm. So to be national champions the next 2 years would be really important. And I think leading that and with action and then just trying to help guys out, you know, always being positive is huge.
Yeah. All right. I got another question, and we're getting close down to the end here, but everybody says, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? I want to know what's Bo Bassett's Mount Rushmore for wrestling moves. These are specific for your wrestling. You know, if you had to say, these are my 4 moves of my Mount Rushmore.
I like that. I've never really thought about that, but I think for sure I got to put snap downs on there. You know, front headlock, go behinds. That's one. So We'll go that for one. That's for sure. I mean, love snapping guys down, running behind. It's the easiest points a game, I believe. My number 2, I'm going to stay on our feet. I'm going to go fireman's. Reason being is because if I hit a sweep, take a guy down, I'm only getting 3. If I hit him in a fireman's, I can transition to back points. So it could be 7. I love that. I think that's huge. So we'll go fireman's, snap down. For sure, I got to go with my tilt series, 100%. You got to put that tilt series in there. So we'll go cross wrist tilt as like the move, but it's the whole tilt series. There's a little bit more meaning behind that one.
Love it.
And then 4th, I would have to say cradles because you can hit them from anywhere. That would be like my favorite like pinning move and something that, again, is not just you can hit it on top or on your feet. It's everywhere. It's in the scramble. So snap downs, fireman's, tilts, and cradles. There we go.
Love it.
That's my
Love
4.
it. All right. Hey, and this has got me thinking, like, you know, how much do you think about wrestling? Right. And I mean, like, you know, you go to practice, that doesn't count and all that. When you're not doing interviews and you're not giving seminars and you're not actually right, like you're just kind of doing your own thing, right? Downtime or whatever you want to call it. How often do you think about wrestling? And like specifically, you know, are you thinking generally about atmosphere and seeing yourself in an event? Are you thinking about like the minute details of, you know, this, whatever, scramble or really specific things?
I think about wrestling a lot. I can't say I don't.
Yeah.
I think when I'm thinking about wrestling, I'm definitely thinking about my goals and the things that I want to do. That's more visualizing for me. But when I think about it, I love the sport. So every film on FloWrestling that they do, the little documentaries, I've probably seen every single one. Like I love the behind the scenes. I love everything that goes into wrestling, the preparation, how guys are handling it during the day of competition, what they do in their lives. Like I really enjoy that stuff. I watch a lot of film for sure. Today, I believe I'm going to watch all of my world championship matches from last year just because, and we're just going to try to learn, and that'll be with my dad. So I'm excited about that. But when I'm not thinking about wrestling and not thinking about what's coming up or whatever, I got two built-in brothers, best friends at home. So we're always hanging out. We're big Steelers fans. Is that the right one? There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, it's flipped for me, so it's Lloyd.
Yeah.
We're big Steelers fan. We just watch football. I know the national championship was on last night, so I was watching that for college football. We just compete in everything. We compete in everything that we do, and it's really fun to do that type of stuff. And we're big college wrestling fans. I know that's wrestling, but watching that is really awesome. And I think having my two brothers built in at home, I have more than enough to do with those guys.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I come from a big family. I got a bunch of brothers, so I know that deal, and it's awesome. Now, speaking of brothers, describe the three of you and what makes each of you different. Maybe specific personality or characteristic traits.
Yeah, I'll start with Keegan. So, Keegan's the toughest of the three, and I'll say that for sure. He's the toughest of the three. He's probably the strongest of the three too. He's insanely strong at the weight that he's at. Like, he'll lift in my group sometimes, and I'm a 145. He's 106. It's crazy, and I'm not weak, And yeah, he's really strong. He's really tough, And I think that Keegan has probably the highest roof. I think that he has the most potential in front of him. He's the youngest. He's learning to go through experiences probably before he will himself, just with having Melvin and I. And I think that Keegan does an amazing job of getting better, constantly evolving. He's not afraid to rip it. And, man, he starts it off every duel for us. At Wyoming Sam, he ripped off that headlock first 15 seconds. And I don't know, that kind of really sparked the team. That was awesome. So Keegan, I would say, is the toughest, and he's the strongest brother of the three. And I think that he's got the most potential. And then you got Melvin in the middle, who's technically the biggest brother, but he's not the oldest. I'll never let him forget that. I'm always big brother to Melvin, even though he's bigger. But Melvin, I mean, he does unbelievable things. Like, you watch him wrestle, it's like an art. Like, he does some awesome skills. He has really good technique. We're trying to get him to up his pace even more. He wrestles a high pace, but I couldn't imagine if he sprinted for 6 minutes. I really couldn't, just with his skills and the way he wrestles. So we're trying to get him to really put that gas pedal down. But I mean, to be able to win Super 32 and some of these big events that he won last year as a freshman, and then this year he's winning now, as a sophomore, at such a high weight was almost unheard of. I only think one other person had ever done it. Maybe it was like Mark Hall or someone like that. But I mean, he does amazing things. He's at a super high weight. He went up 50 pounds in like 1 year. So he's growing as a person in the sport. And watch out for Melvin Miller. He's an awesome partner to wrestle with. That dude's insane skills, great wrestler. So I would say Melvin, I mean, sky's the limit for him too. He has so much potential. He does a great job with his skills, being able to be a great wrestler. And if he can put that gas pedal down, watch out. He's really excited to keep moving forward. And I think for me, it's just, I just like to have fun. I think I'm more calm than those two. They get a little bit more rowdy. I'd say Melvin's in the middle. Keegan's definitely, he got the emotions rolling, but he does a good job now controlling them. But for me, I'd say I'm more calm. I love the sport of wrestling, maybe the most. They love it too, but I love it a lot. Like, I really love it. And I think that I just try to be a good big brother to them.
Yeah, great stuff. You mentioned earlier that you watch everything, you consume everything. You said the Flow films, that caught my ear. I'm involved in a lot of those. Do you have a favorite Flow film?
Oof, a favorite. Well, what's cool is I have a lot of favorites of them. But what's cool is now that I'm getting older, like, they're not making Flow films on us, but they do like mini documentaries.
Yeah.
Like, they covered my weight one year at US Open. And then they covered us at Last Chance, and then the first day of recruiting. So that was like really cool to be able to it's not a legitimate Flow film, but it's still like a little
right there.
Video that they're doing. That's pretty awesome. It's still like up in that category. But I've had I really like the Kerry Colat one. We watched that so many times. Growing up, we watched. Yeah, it is. It actually is. But he's the man. Yes. He works so hard. And then I would say I like watching the ones on the teams. Mm-hmm. That's always fun. And then watching ones on specific brackets. That one year when Yanni went through, I don't know, it was like called the Run, or it was called something like that. He went through the U.S. Open, and that was kind of the first time he busted through. And
the takeover.
The takeover. That's right. Exactly. The takeover. The Terry one is fun to watch. That's like one of the longer ones. And Yeah, I enjoy them all. I like the David Taylor ones too. When he was younger, it's cool to see how he's now obviously in the coaching role. And I've watched probably all of them. The one on Jaden Cox, and now he was my Team USA coach. So it's been really fun to follow those.
Sweet. Now, not all-time favorite film, but all-time favorite wrestler. You get one.
Oh,
And it might be your favorite wrestler
Spencer Lee.
today, and maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's not yesterday, but today, who's your favorite wrestler?
I got to go Spencer Lee. That's my guy. I've looked up to him since I was young. There's a picture where I am maybe 12 years old, maybe younger, probably like 10, 11, and he was a junior, senior in high school, and we trained for those years in the Young Guns room, and he's a great role model then. He's still obviously a great role model. I got to wrestle with him on the visit. Spencer Lee takes it for me.
Okay, now you brought up Spencer Lee. Give me if you have thoughts, analysis, prediction, whatever. Spencer Lee versus Ono coming up on February 26th. What's thoughts on that matchup? Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for both guys. I have a lot of respect for Ono. I was at the same U20 World Championships as him. And what's kind of crazy is me and D. Lockett are there warming up. This is the day before, so I'm helping him get weight off. And I'm just getting the last preparations there to go wrestle Worlds. And Ono, who I didn't know at the time, like this guy kind of came out of nowhere. He'd never really wrestled in Worlds before and stuff. But you could tell the dude was like, he had some swag. So I knew he was definitely tough. He comes over, the whole Japan team's there, and the one bigger guy asks D to wrestle a match, and Ono asked me to wrestle a match. And I'm like, we wrestle Worlds tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, match. And he can't understand us. But he's asking to wrestle, and we were like, no, we'll just wrestle, get this weight off. But I'll never forget that. He asked to wrestle a match. He knew how to say that. And it was cool. I got to know him a little bit there. We talked the day before and during Worlds, and obviously he had that run, and then never expected him to have that insane run at seniors just because no one that young really does that. But it was pretty awesome to see him be able to do that. I have a lot of respect for him, but it's hard not to pick my guy who's been my role model my whole life in Spencer Lee. I think it'll be a great match. I heard that Ono's actually moving down to 57 anyway, So it's probably not the last time we'll see it. So it'll be fun to watch, but that's just a cool story that I knew Ono before everybody else kind of knew him.
Match.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
No,
and he was trying to trade for gear, and yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great person. He's very lovable. He's got a great personality, and yeah, I think people enjoy him, and I can't wait. Him versus Spencer is going to be fireworks, so we can't wait to see that on February 26th. And really, Bo, that kind of is going to take us to the end of the show today. But I want to give you the final word to say anything you might want to say about anything.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for having me on. Just want to throw a shout out to my faith and that God is the center of my life. And without that, I don't know where I'd be. And I can tell you that nothing's possible without him. So I know that, and that's in the forefront of my life and something I think about every single day. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. And I think that's my message is God at the center. Anything is possible. And just excited to see where God takes me on the recruiting, and excited to see what he has planned. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, can't wait for it. We're gonna keep our eyes peeled, Bo, on your recruiting list, and we'll keep an eye on that PIAA team states, see if that dual meet happens. But thanks for joining us today. Best of luck in everything moving forward.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, you bet. And that's going to take us to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.